Hello, everybody, and welcome to my playoffs quarterfinals Teambuilder video against Jolty and the South Norfolk Noiverns. So he has a team of Skarmory, Cresselia, Salazzle, Dragalge, Flygon, Mudsdale, Venusaur, Suicune, Thundurus, Aurorus, and Lycanroc Midnight. His team's the same, pretty much the same as when we played him the first time, except he has an Aurorus now over his Verzion. Last time we played, he brought a defensive Skarm, defensive Cresselia, Scarf Salazzle, Specs Dragalge, Scarf Flygon, and a bulky Suicune. And yeah, that's what we brought last time. So, team I'm bringing this week is Delphox, Zapdos, Metagross, Jellicent, Zygarde, and Sylveon. So this team is the same that I brought last time, except with a Metagross over a Talonflame and some sets switched around. So first up is one of the sets that I did change, and I changed a lot, and I do really like against this team, and it's my Delphox. My Delphox is extremely hard for his team to deal with. Against his team, Delphox blows back Skarmory with Flamethrower, blows back Salazzle with Psychic, blows back Dragalge with Psychic. Flygon's just not bulky enough to take anything. Mudsdale isn't to some extent as well. Venusaur is blown back by Psychic. Suicune can't take two Psychics. Salazzle or Thundurus isn't bulky enough to take them if I set up a bit. Neither is Aurorus or Lycanroc. Cresselia can probably take a Flamethrower or two, but Cresselia cannot break a substitute of Delphox. Jolty, from just all of his games in general, and especially against this game against me, really enjoys using status. And against him the first time I brought Sylveon, and I was thinking about bringing Heal Bell on it, but then I didn't because I wanted Light Screen instead. I very much regretted it because he proceeded to status my entire team, and I had to switch it back and forth between Toxic Mons the entire game to keep him from dying. So we're gonna have Heal Bell this week on my Sylveon, but also other countermeasures to stop his status, including Substitute. So the plan is to get my Delphox in at some point against his Cresselia, which should come. If not his Cresselia, then possibly his Skarm, maybe even Venusaur, depending on if it has Earthquake or not. But he'll either try and status it or hit it with some sort of move, and I'll sub on it, and he'll realize that although his Cresselia can stop my Delphox from doing significant damage to it at first, that he's actually just set up Fodder and Walled because he can't break a sub in one hit. So I can do that and start setting up Calm Minds on it. Once I get to +2, which is the magic number, because pretty much everything on his team is he's pretty much been 6-0'd at that point. I do have to make sure because I don't think I ever called for months still. Let's just throw on a standard set. Say we're at +2. Mudsdale will need a Hera chip. It would probably be physically defensive if you brought it. Probably for Lopunny. So yeah, Mudsdale would need a Hera chip. But other than that, at +2, and also the plan is, so I substitute on the Cresselia. It fails to break my sub. It likely clicks Toxic on me. Toxic's my sub, and then he's like, oh shit. I click Calm Mind as he swaps to Suicune. He clicks Scald on my substitute and breaks it. I did originally have a set that after 2 Calm Minds would become so bulky that Suicune had a very small chance to break the sub, and I used that in order to go to boost. But the problem with that set is that Delphox with Delphox it that Scarf Flygon's not only a very plausible bring, but he should bring it because it's really good against my team. It outspeeds Delphox and revenges it. It's always faster than Zygarde and can revenge it. And Zygarde is, instead of Zygarde's always a problem for any team. Yeah, so it's just in general, Scarf Flygon is good against my team, and he brought it last time, so he could definitely bring it again. But if he has that, then U-turn can break my subs. And if he's breaking my sub with a U-turn, then it puts me in a scenario where I have to click substitute to get every kill, as opposed to just killing everything, including the Flygon, because I'll be faster than Flygon after a boost from a Slackberry. So I decided to go with the Slackberry instead of the bulky substitute one. So yeah, I set up the Calm Mind as Suicune breaks my substitute. I probably sub again just to make sure he doesn't want a Toxic, and then if he breaks my substitute again, then I probably Calm Mind one last time, get to +2, and then start going to town. So yeah, that's the Delphox. Next up is my Zapdos. So it's Expert Belt just because some calcs I needed to needed the Expert Belt for, primarily to one-hit KO Flygon with Hidden Power Ice, as well as two-hit KO Thundurus with Hidden Power Ice. So my Zapdos is pretty much primarily here to keep off rocks so that my Delphox has an easier time sweeping, because Delphox is my primary way to win the game, and it makes it much harder to win if there's rocks in the field. So because I'm trying to win with Delphox, I absolutely need to keep rocks off the field. So it comes in on Skarmory and deals well with it. Keeps its rocks off, walls it. It could possibly get Toxic, but I do have Sylveon with Heal Bell, so it's not that big a deal if it does. Since I can click HP Ice, going Thunder it doesn't necessarily invite Thundurus in if he brings it, because Thundurus is a pretty scary mod. Thundurus is especially scary if he brings a Nasty Plot variant, and that's what I was afraid of the first game. But not only did he not bring the Nasty Plot variant, he didn't bring Thundurus at all, and said that he wouldn't bring Thundurus at all against my team because I have too many grounds. And I mean, I disagree, but he didn't. I'm hoping he still doesn't, but I'm still prepared. But I really don't think, even if he does, he's going to bring a Nasty Plot variant, because he's brought it. I don't remember what the stats were, and I don't feel like looking them up right here, but he brought it definitely the majority of games, and not a single time did he bring Nasty Plot. It's always been Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, 2 coverage moves, and Z move. Never been Nasty Plot, which definitely takes away a lot of the scariness factor. So I definitely appreciate him not bringing it, and I'm almost banking on him not bringing it, which I think is definitely a hair unwise to do, but but he hasn't brought it a single time, and it's made sense many times, so I really don't think he should. But anyways, with this Zapdos, I do always have the ability to 2-hit KO Thundurus. So if I'm in a scenario, say I put up rocks and he's a Defog Scarm, I'm not sure whether I expect him to be Defog or rocks or both, but say I bring out say he brings in his Scarm on my Metagross as I throw up rocks, I bring out Zapdos on his Scarm as he defogs him, I can click HP Ice in that scenario because A, he shouldn't be staying in, and B, even if he does, I don't lose much. The worst case scenario, he probably just puts up rocks and I can defog the next turn. But if I can HP Ice, I can keep Thunderous from coming in or punish him coming in if he does. So HP Ice is nice for that. Volt Switch is good just because he doesn't have a ground type or a ground immunity besides Mudsteel, which isn't very good mon, and like Mudsteel's never beating his Zapdos, and I can HP Ice that into the next dimension. With the Expert Belt, HP Ice is definitely going to hurt that. Volt Switch is super effective on his Suicune, which is nice. So I'll get a little bit of damage boost there and his Skarmory. And if he chooses not to bring his Thunderous again, then I can Volt Switch pretty freely on his entire team, which is very nice. I'm hoping he doesn't bring that. But his primary role is to check Flygon. And if you look at my team, Flygon can definitely get out of control if I'm not careful with Zapdos, because Earthquake can definitely sweep. It's my only ground immunity. So yeah, that's a Zapdos. I also have Static to fish for static paralysis on U-turns, because he does like to U-turn a lot with his Flygon. And that's exactly what I did last game. I paralyzed it, and I was able to pick it off with my Zygarde, even though it was a Scarf because of its reduced speed. Next up is my Metagross. This is a sort of way for me to counter his heavy status play, mainly Toxic. He very much likes to move Toxic. Against my team, he tried to pretty much just Toxic stall everything to death. But Metagross also just has an all-around decent matchup. So this is my primary switch in to things like his Cresselia, because I don't want to throw my Delphox in front of his Cresselia, because I can get Toxic and things like that. So I want to avoid that. This can also come in on his Venusaur and deal okay with it. It can come in on his Aurorus, although it does get Earth Power, but Bullet Punch probably, I'm pretty sure it does okay. I'll check that though. Not quite actually. I might want to change it so it does, but I don't know. But the main thing it has is Rocks. I really wanted Rocks this matchup. As you'll see later, Zygarde really appreciates having Rocks up. But it can come in on Venusaur and Cresselia very effectively. Toxic Cresselia, Zen the Venusaur. I am a hair afraid of Sleep Powder Venusaur. That's something that can definitely start annoying my team. But mainly I want to get up Rocks and Poison Cresselia. I think this be a nuisance. I can even come in on his Dragalge. I'm EV'd to always outrun Modest Dragalge. So this is a mid-ground play because it resists both of Dragalge's stabs. It's immune to one of them, resists the other. Yeah, it's mainly just to get the Rocks up and be a good switch in when I don't want anything to get poisoned, and deals with Cresselia pretty well. Next up is my Jellicent, and my Jellicent okay, actually I gotta change these up because I have some strange OCD. I always need to have my recovery move at the bottom. My status moves towards the bottom, my damaging moves at the top. It's my OCD. There we go, that's better. My Jellicent actually destroyed him last game. He really had no effective way to kill it because he didn't bring Thunderous. So like, look at this. The team he brought was Skarmory, Cresselia, Salazzle, Dragalge, Flygon, Suicune. Tell me which of those is breaking a Jellicent. The answer is none of them. Actually, I was thinking about bringing Taunt or Surf. Taunt is definitely nice. I think I may even do that. So I have some counterplay to Suicune. I typed in Suicune instead of Taunt though because I'm really good at the game. Yes, Surf was only really there for the Salazzle. I think I'll wall Salazzle just fine. But this time around, I have Nightshade and Cursed Body to deal with his Dragalge better. Although Water Absorb is nice for Suicune, I think that the Cursed Body benefit is better for checking things like the Dragalge, Salazzle. This is my premier Salazzle check because nothing else on my team really can take on Salazzle stabs, except for like Zygarde. But Zygarde is more of an offensive Pokemon, and I'd rather have something defensive taking that. But it's also taking on Dragalge, and really Dragalge Dragalge is like very fairly bulky, so I'm going to need a decent move to damage it. Last game, all I had to damage it was Scald, so I had to like fish for a Scald burn, which luckily I got first try. But I don't want to be relying on that luck this time, so I have Nightshade, which is solid, consistent damage. So yeah, I can always recover up and take any given hit from a Dragalge. And just outlast his team and hopefully exactly like I did last time. This time, hopefully my Jellicent won't be toxic while it's trying to outlast his entire team too, and I do have ways to stop it. Cursed Bodies, especially for Specs Pokemon, I can check and see what they're locked into, things like that, and get some clutch disables, because Cursed Body always seems to come in clutch and work when you need it to. Next up is my Zygarde, and this Choice Band again. It's the exact same set I brought last time. 1,000 Arrows, Outrage, Extreme Speed, Toxic, pretty standard. It's got no speed investment because everything faster than Zygarde is going to be faster no matter what. Flygon's going to be faster no matter what. Salazzle's going to be faster no matter what. Thundurus is going to be faster no matter what. There's like none of them are going to ever have speed below Zygarde. And then things like that are slower than Zygarde, like Skarmory is not running speed. It's defensive. Crest is not running speed. Dragalge, I don't think it can ever even reach, even if it wanted to. Venusaur is probably not running speed. Suicune's probably not running speed. Lycanroc could very well run speed, but he really likes Rock Polish on his Lycanroc. So if I tried to creep that, it would all go to waste if he clicks a Rock Polish. So yeah. But he does have a lot of things that can definitely take Zygarde's hits well. But once I get rocks up and I start toxicking him down a little bit, his switch-ins become very diluted. So his primary switch-ins at face value are Crest, possibly Venusaur, and Suicune. Suicune doesn't get very reliable recovery, so I'm not so big on Suicune as being a check, because it like takes 1,000 arrows. It's gonna have a hard time getting that health back or an Outrage. Cresselia and Suicune both get Ice Beam, so I do have to be very careful of that, especially clicking Outrage. Cresselia can definitely take one pretty well and recover up on it, but if I'm able to get the rocks up, these calcs are all doing in the 30, 40-ish damage range, with 1,000 arrows and Outrage doing even more. So say he's max defensive, which is certainly a realistic possibility. Bold. Outrage is doing 38 to 45, but say I have Stealth Rock up, it's a guaranteed 3 KO. But if I get Toxic or even a little bit of Chip on Cresselia, then his checks start to become diluted. So that's my primary way of breaking his team, I'm thinking, is my Zygarde. I have Extreme Speed on it too for the Thundurus, because that does about half. It also helps with Salazzle, because I didn't really bring anything that's super fast this week, so I wanted some speed control. And that's my primary way to revenge things, is Zygarde Extreme Speed. And Toxic is on here to catch things switching in. Say I come in on a Salazzle or a Dragalge, and I want to catch him switching into something, like his Cresselia or a Suicune or Probably not as Venusaur, hopefully not as Venusaur, maybe even Mudsail. I can flop off a Toxic and hit him and start wearing him down like that. So yeah. Extreme Speed is there for the speed control. 1,000 Arrows is there for some consistent damage, and Outrage is probably my big hitter. That will be the thing that breaks his team once it starts to be worn down. Lastly is my Sylveon. It's pretty standard. Hyper Voice, Heal Bell, Wish Protect. Heal Bell needs to be here because he loves his status, so I need to keep him from statusing me and destroying my entire team with status again. Actually, I think, now I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to throw these EVs speed in case he tries to speed creep. Wish passing is also really nice, especially if I can wish pass into Metagross, because it's pretty especially defensive for taking on things like Dragalge, Cress, Aurorus, and it doesn't have the natural recovery to stay up. So if I can wish pass into that, that's great. If I can wish pass into Zygarde, that's also great. If I can wish pass into Delphox, that's fantastic. But Heal Bell is going to be tremendous support. And Protect is also going to be tremendous support against things that I find out to be Scarf users. Say his Flygon, say if I realize his Flygon Scarf, if I realize his Dragalge Specs again, things like that. I can always click Protect, scout what he wants to do. Or say he brings in his Dragalge as a means to revenge my Sylveon, or his Salazzle for that matter. I can click Protect, and if they go for something other than Sludge Wave, predicting something other than Sylveon, then they're either forced out by the fact that I could stay in the next turn and they're locked into that other move, or I can go into something and that takes that appropriate hit, and if they use something else, then I can confirm they're set to be Scarf or not. I can really only confirm it to be not if they change moves. I don't know necessarily for sure if they are Scarfed or Specs. So my Sylveon can protect and kind of scout out moves. And Sylveon plus Metagross plus Jellicent all kind of come together to form a core where neither of them really appreciate the dragon moves from Dragalge, but Sylveon's immune to them and can pivot in, especially if I realize he's Specs. And if he is Specs, that's really the only scenario where I'm really fearing the dragon moves. And also, neither of them super appreciate the poison moves. Sylveon definitely doesn't, and Jellicent can take them, but not happily. But if I do realize he specs into them, which, I mean, Sylveon or Jellicent only really not very happily takes them if they're specs, then I can go straight into my Metagross for free. It's almost a core of immunity, where Jellicent's always a decent mid-ground, but I do have an immunity to poison and an immunity to dragon to keep all their types in check, and then like fire moves from Salazzle are just never going to have anything on Jellicent. And I even have Zygarde in the mix to also resist poison and fire. Last thing I'm a hair afraid of is possibly his Lycanroc if he wants to set up with it, but it can't set up very well on most things. I do have Bullet Punch on my Metagross to do decent damage to it with priority. You're doing about half. And my Zygarde deals with it easily OHKOing it. I do have to be careful about Outrage because it does learn that, but Outrage doesn't do all that much. He could possibly bring Z Outrage because I think this is a Z user. Oh, even Z Outrage doesn't kill. Damn. Wow, Zygarde's really bulky. So I do have a fairly safe switch into that. Extreme Speed plus Bullet Punch should kill it. Like, worst case scenario, if I'm able to get a little bit of chip on it. So yeah, that's the team. I'm feeling pretty confident with it. And hopefully it works, because if it doesn't, we're going to be out of playoffs. But I do really feel that it works, because even my first game when I came unprepared for his overwhelming status and his team to be as fat as it was, I still came out with the win, and I feel this team is much more prepared to deal with his playstyle and what he wants to bring. So unless he throws a serious curveball or and changes his playstyle and what he's planning to do, or I get lucked pretty hard, I think I should be able to come out with the win because I feel this team is even better than the team I brought before, and my team before still took the still got the win.